Alright, today we got a weird lyrical sub-archetype today that is not a ride line, by the way, along with the Dark State and Stochea generics that do not belong to any G decks, or Stride decks, depending on how you like to say it. But anyway, let's begin. But first, I want to go over a Skyride promo, because this one's actually going to be pretty good and it's for Dark State. Heart Opening Furia, which is a grade 1 with K power and skills. Auto Rearguard, when this card boosts, if your opponent has 1 or less rearguard, or you play an order this turn, this card gives us 5 K power at the end of battle, and at the end of battle, put this to soul and draw a card. It's basically like Painkiller or the dog from Cater, except that the condition is either 1 or less opponent rearguard or you play an order, which a good number of Dark State decks can do. And the fact that it goes to soul instead of retiring itself is a huge plus because a lot of Dark State's deck uses the soul. Just overall a good number of Dark State decks that can use this, especially if you want the draw power. And into a sub-archetype for Lyrical, it's called the Amical Patissiere archetype. We start off with the order card, the 3 good friends, and yes, it's the artwork of the cards. So you play it by Soul Blasting 2. Look at top 7 cards to your deck to choose up to 2 units that are Amical Patissiere with different card names and call them to rearguard and shuffle your deck. Very simple, and it just adds the consistency to the deck. Hopefully they actually make a full-on ride line with this rather than just a subsection, because our first card is Amical Patissiere Suhi, which is a grade 2 with 10 power on the skills. Auto rearguard when this card is boosted by Amical Patissiere, Soul charge 2 and plus 5k power at the end of the battle. A small little engine for Soul, why not? And it's a ghost, so you could try running it in your ghost deck if you wish, but I wouldn't recommend it. In which we go to the grade 1 with K power, Amical Patissiere with Taurus, which has the skill of auto when placed on rearguard, call Soul Blast 1, look at top 7 cards to your deck to choose up to either 1 Amical Patissiere from among them or the 3 good friends from among them, reveal it and put it in your hand, of course shuffle your deck. Just helpful for some extra consistency, but once again it's a subsection of a ride line that is not a ride line, so it's up to you if you want to play this engine or not. In which we go to Amical Patissiere Marquille, which is a grade 3 with 13 power and the skills. Auto, when placed on rearguard, cost energy loss 3, choose a grade 3 or less Amical Patissiere card from your drop and put it to your hand, which is of course very helpful. In which we go to the second skill where Auto Rearguard, when this card attacks a Vanguard, choose 3 of your Amical Patissieres with different names. That includes herself and her 2 other friends. Cost, Counter Blast 1, choose 2 of your opponent's rearguards and move them to Guardian, and this card gets us 10k power at the end of the battle. Once again, decent little engine, but it's up to you if you want to run it. And now we go to the 2 generics where they both do the exact same thing. The first one is Magical Monarch Vasago, which is a grade 1 K power and they all have the stat. So you get the skills of Count. If you have no G zone, this card gets the following. Act Hand. If your Vanguard is at least grade 3, cost this card from your hand and put a total of 2 cards from your soul and drop zone that were from the ride deck and put it back to the ride deck face up. Look at top 7 cards of your deck to choose up to 1 grade 3 or greater card with different name from your Vanguard, reveal it and put it in your hand and shuffle your deck. If you couldn't reveal the card, put this back to your hand. So basically it's a grade 3 searcher consistency or higher for non-stride decks. And depending on the deck, it could be very helpful because there might be a very good grade 3 for the deck, or if you're trying to evolve your Vanguard. In which we go to the second skill where Auto, when put on Guardian, if you have 4 more cards in Soul, shield plus 5k, but if your opponent has a card in their G zone, you can bind a grade 3 or greater card from your Soul or drop, shield plus 10k, into the end of the battle. And yes, you still keep the 5k even if you do bind the grade 3. And before I go over the overall for the generic, we go to the Stochea one, which has the same first section where you just put the 2 cards back to the ride deck to look at top 7 for a different grade 3 or higher card from your Vanguard to your hand, and if you miss, go back to your hand. But the gaining shield is a little different for Stochea, where you need to have at least 4 cards in the drop zone for the shield plus 5k, and once again, if your opponent has a card in the G zone, you can bind a grade 3 from your soul or drop and another plus 10k. And yes, you still keep the 5k even if you bind. Just overall pretty decent, and it just depends on what deck you play, because once again, if you have a good grade 3 rearguard for the specific deck, you're definitely probably going to run these for the consistency, or if you have evolutions, you're definitely going to be running these just to add a little more consistency to ride to your basically evolution. The only question is this worth running over the cat, or just run one of each, because they both have the same condition except the cat gets more shield. So that's it for the generics for Dark State and Stochea along with the 3 friends engine. What do you guys think of it? The 3 friend engine is just whatever, run in your own leisure, but the generics are decent depending on the deck that you play it in. They are basically grade 3 searchers for basically non-stride decks. But of course they have to be either good rearguards or evolutions, and there are definitely a good number of decks that have those criteria. The only debate is it worth more running than the cat. But on that, that's it for this, and see you all next time.